So having time away from caregiving, and elder care, yeah. So I'll go there on that one, in terms of uh, the our bodies changing and aging and getting sick. Some of you know, in Buddhism, there's a teaching of the heavenly messengers, and that's a grief, that when we uh, uh, deal with or not with the loss of uh, the functions of our body, yeah, and the abilities of other people's bodies, especially those who we take care of. Yeah. So humor, someone's asking, or even bad jokes help with grief. Yeah. Um, with grief and caregiver support specifically, I think it can be really helpful to be in a group with other people. So uh, going through the same thing. So I know I'm a resource queen. I love resources, and I definitely know that groups like Alzheimer's organization, alz.org. They run a lot of groups for caregivers and on the whole spectrum of memory loss and dementia and and cognitive memory issues. And so that's definitely a good resource to be around other people, because then we tend to because when we can't laugh, it's generally because it's so stressful, and it's not our fault that we can't laugh or cry. Um, it's this kind of frozen or is kind of a traumatic reaction to, especially with our loved ones, and specifically parents. They look like us, to see them go through a death and dying process, or uh, to the ultimate leaving our body, to the loss of function is really intense. So to be around other people, specifically with trauma, the like the what makes it even worse is feeling like we're the only ones going through what we're going through, and so it's so important um, to be with other people and to hear, because, and this is the invitation specifically around being in spiritual community. The invitation, the encouragement, the necessity is to hear like that other people are going through it, and that not just that, but that they are having the intention of skillfully dealing with these realities of loss and change and harm and hurt and yeah. So I definitely, and yeah. So there's some good news. In the both, the grief and the gratitude, and how to um, hold them both. And the short answer is, being in community with other folks that are um, some folks, and you might be here tonight. From the last time I was here at the POC Sangha in September, whenever that was. The time is so odd, right? These days, especially. The title of the talk was Mindfulness as Harm Reduction. So that's definitely what I've been coming to, is like being around other folks that are intending to reduce harm, yeah, with these inherent harms that are part of living this life, yeah. So I said this quote earlier, that if we don't make space for grief, we don't make space for gratitude and joy. And The grief cycle is really great as a cognitive grounding, so that we're always going through some change and loss. And I have found this to be very helpful to know what kind of, sometimes they're called stages, but that implies linear, but that we're in in this process like all the time. And generally, grief in the Buddhist sense is attachment. So at some point, we're attaching to things that inevitably condition things that are changing. So that's going to cause suffering. And it's an opportunity to be with and appreciate and feel grateful and experience gratitude for what we do have. So that's this, and it's again not unidirectional. The arrows are going in all different directions. So I want to end with a quote, and I'll drop this in the chat as a resource. This article that I just read this week by wonderful activist Makia Devich Cyril, called "Grief Belongs in Social Movements. Can we embrace it?" So it's a long quote, and I can, okay. So something is dying, and we are desperate for something new to be born. We can feel it quivering with hope at the edge of a century. The fires call to us like beacons across state lines, a collective grievance demarcating what was from what will be, here now. Grounded grief. Grounded grief is a vaccine against the morbid conditions bred by white supremacy, a patriarchy that has distorted our families and relationships, a concentration of wealth that has disconnected us from nature and directed every brilliant and beautiful thing to profit. Only through the compassion and loneliness and love inherent in grief can we forge a world out of the fire that will not replicate ancient hierarchies. So this is a wonderful article, and there's 4 steps that are included in the article, and they are embracing the grief fully, seeking solace and comfort, which we do here at the POC Sangha and other Sanghas, finding inspiration, and because we know our ancestors did a lot more with a lot less, not to compare or quantify, but I think that's pretty true. And then the 4th step of taking action from this grounded grief. And so I'll end with that. And thank you for your attention. So gratitude practice, in my experience, I've done it, like kept a gratitude journal. I've done like A through Z listing like things I'm grateful for in the alphabet. You kind of run out with Q and Z, but or just 3 things a day right before you go to sleep, practicing it, and then taking time to write down the griefs as well. I wrote a whole entire page of the things I'm grieving, and it's, you can't see it, and it's become a daily practice to really slow down and just feel. That first step was feeling the grief fully, and so if you read that article, and you already know this, that the culture doesn't give us time to grieve, right? And the capitalist culture, yeah. And so to create space to, I made a list of, the personal losses and the community losses, and again this societal collective losses, and I'll just end with just grief being a social justice issue, that when we grieve, we are acting in ways that are against injustice, that it's our right, and it's a powerful force that we can yield for gratitude, for healing, and love. So thank you all. Thank you for your practice. I'm going to go ahead and dedicate the merit of our practice. And just again, grateful for each of you and grateful for East Bay Meditation Center. And may the energies and the efforts, skillful and otherwise, that we practice, may they all continue to be for the benefit of all beings, trusting that we have found this path and that as we practice in earnest with wisdom and love, that we are healing the entire universe, one breath at a time.